Welcome to the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk, a show about ancient coins from the viewpoint of a seasoned professional with nearly 30 years' experience. Here's Aaron Berk and Mike Nottleman on the Ancient Coin Podcast.
And the sound of whatever that was means it's time for the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk. I am Mike Nottleman.
I'm Aaron Berk.
Yes, and tonight we have all kinds of news. Some news from the world of auctions, and some auctions from the world of news, and we'll get to all of it. We have an educational segment tonight. We have the winners to our contest from last episode, and we have another contest for this episode. So stay tuned to the end. That's a teaser. So
and our educational is more of like we're going to dive into something a little controversial.
Deep dive. All right. So Aaron, tell me what is going on in the world of auctions.
Well, we just had NAC. We profiled it in episode number 44. And by the way, number 45.
Hell yeah.
This is kind of a,
it's got to be a regular thing.
Got to celebrate the 5s and the 10s, right? So
5 more.
5 more until we hit 50. Yeah, that's right. So I thought, why don't we do something a little unusual and just go back and look at a couple of the NAC lots that we profiled last week and see how they did. And yeah, these are the high-end ones, but they're also exciting to look at. So the first one that we looked at was the Hadrian Cistercius. That was lot number 1064. And you got that one up, Mike?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So this is an amazing bronze. Brought 600,000 hammer.
Yeah, the estimate was 300,000.
Was. Now, NAC tends to have stronger estimates, but anybody who buys NAC or participates in NAC auctions generally knows it's very difficult to buy anything at estimate, especially from NAC, even with a little bit higher estimates. Most auction houses considers their estimates to be wholesale. And so it's very difficult and sometimes even ridiculous wholesale. So coins that they know are worth $10,000 and they'll put out $1,000 and saying that the estimate's 1,000 when they know dang well it's going to go for 10. And it's a big game because ultimately, if it goes for 10 times what the estimate was, they can say that it was a gangbuster auction because it went 10 times estimate.
Yeah.
So it's just psychological, and it's a way for them to get advertising, to get more submissions to their auctions. And so the other thing is, if you start out with an estimate, if let's say they put 600,000 estimate on this piece, it would have maybe sold for $500,000, maybe it sold for 600,000. So then it starts looking like they are not making estimate. So there really is a game being played with this kind of stuff, and it draws clients in. And when they're successful, which generally they're kind of, excuse me,
bless you,
they're kind of set up for that, then they look good and they can do good advertisement off of that. So the next lot we looked at was the Syracuse Decad dram
2110
of Hemone. This one went for 700,000 Swiss francs.
Wow.
I can report now I was the underbidder on the lot. I went to 650,000 for a client, not for me personally. I don't have that kind of money. But I use other people's money.
Yes.
So but I try to use other people's money wisely. But
you're good at it.
We get lucky every once in a while. But the other buyer, who I found out later who this was, and they told me they were going to go much higher than 700,000. I won't say how high, but they were going to go higher. So it, again, ultimately the most important bidder is, and I'll mention it again, is going to be not the highest bidder, but the underbidder, because without an underbidder, you don't get a high price.
Yeah, so the underbidder pretty much sets the tone.
Yeah. So if my client would have wanted to go higher, then it would have, and I now know that the other client was going to be going higher. This could have gone for over $1 million hammer.
So one of the things I've noticed about this coin is on the reverse with the quadriga and the Nike in the air. I see a lot of doubling on it. Was that intentional? Was it just like because the coin was not struck more than once? That's obvious from the obverse.
Yeah, so a couple things to correct. First off, on Syracuse decadrams and a lot of Syracuse coins, the quadriga is actually the obverse of the coin.
Okay.
And the head side, which is traditionally would be our obverse, and in most cases that's the case. But on Greek coins of Syracuse and descent, they are the reverses of the coin. So the horse race was the most important side. So that was actually the obverse of the coin. Second, when you have a coin like this that is such high detail, you have to sometimes strike it more than once. And so there's going to be some shifting in the dies possibly when they go to strike this. So a lot of high-end, large Greek coins that have a lot of detail have to be struck multiple times. And so it's just the die probably shifted more on the reverse side or the obverse side than it did on the reverse side.
Okay, learned something.
So it's very common to get ghosting and double striking on a lot of these coins. Very, 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 very easy. What's unusual about this coin, not only is it signed, but and you can see the signature, it's on the dolphin.
Mhm.
So see on the obverse, you can see just on the dolphin, you'll see the KIMA right there on the dolphin.
Looks like an omega.
Well,
but it
basically,
does. I mean,
but that's what it is.
Yeah.
So, um, so, but a lot of times, these coins weren't meant for circulation. Obviously, they were actually given out as gifts or collected at the time. And so these were never in circulation per se. And so and we know that they were collected because so many of these survived. It's not a rare coin by any means. But they actually put the dies away and then brought them back out after 20 some years. And the dies had rusted, and so you get rusty dies, and rusty die shows up on the coin with rough surfaces. And that's still a mint state coin as struck, but it just happens to be that the dies weren't used for a long period of time. So to get one without rusty dies, perfectly centered, signed, perfect on both sides, it's about as good as it gets.
Well, the description says that this possibly is the finest specimen known.
And I would probably agree. So it's a very important coin for a lot of different reasons. So it's also, some of the there's a lot of early strikes from earlier specimens of this. This is one of the earlier states. So it's important for a lot of reasons. So anyway, moving on to the famous Idmar. That's lot 2313. It went for 950,000 hammer. I was saying it would go between $1 million and $1.5 million. And this is a situation, it's still with the commission, and this is Swiss franc. So, which is stronger than the US dollar. So it is now the first $1 million silver Idmar.
Wow.
So that's the first one. The other one was the hunt specimen that my client bought for 625,000 out of Heritage, which was the record holder going all the way back to 2011 or 12. And so now this one breaks that record, and it's now the first one with commission to go over $1 million. Now, I believe that, my client wasn't bidding on it, and my client's has bought a lot of the really important Idmars that have come to market. And so if my client was bidding on this piece, it would have gone for $1.5 million to $2 million. So knowing who the other buyer probably was. So so it takes two to tango, as they say. And here's a situation where a lot of clients at this level already own one of these. And so, yes, they would have liked to have upgraded, but it's really hard to want to upgrade for $1 million plus. It's not that easy. So, and most people
bag of
can't do that.
shells.
Yeah. But so this is by far the finest known. It's it's really perfect in every possible way. Pedigree is amazing all the way back to, I believe, 1922. Yep, Neville 1922. It was off the market since 1977. It's a fantastic coin. It probably should have gone for more, but again, if you don't have that underbidder, it's not going to go there. But it was an exciting coin to watch sell. So um, now if we go to the last one we didn't profile last week, lot 2289 is this large Ptolemy the Third bronze. This is so they do these by millimeters, and this is 43 millimeters. This is on one of the larger size.
Yeah,
if you go
big.
to the video, Mike, you can probably see in his hand how big it is.
All right, let's take a look.
It's a big coin.
That's a chunky monkey.
Right. So I brought this one up because people are always like, oh, you only talk about doofuses. Why don't you talk about a coin that somebody bought well? Well, I think this was somebody bought this quite well, actually. So they had an estimated 750, I think was really cheap. One for 1,100 Swiss francs. I believe that was a bargain. If you go and research these with this quality of metal, this size, it could have easily been a $2,500 coin or higher. So, it's to me, this was a bargain. And so congratulations to the new owner who did quite well on that.
Yeah, beautiful coin.
So, and if you, we've talked about it before, but coins of Ptolemy, some of the Seleucid material and some other provincial coinage have that dimple in the center. And it's believed that was either, some believe it was there to hold it in place while they were striking it, but is now widely believed that was what they used to actually make the die itself while they were milling it. So in any case,
to hold the die in place while they
created the mill,
yeah,
where they created the die
both
itself.
make sense. I mean, that's
right. So so again, it's not damaged. That's part of it. I wonder
Greek is so much easier to read when you know what it says.
Right. Oh, that's true. That's true. Very, very true. Yeah, it says
I mean, you can see how it says Ptolemy on it. You can see that.
Yep.
But I'd never picked that out of a lineup.
That's true. That's true. I wonder what NGC would have said with that. Well, see, it's a known fact that that's not damaged, but a dimple. So, they can't really say anything negative about that. But in any case,
they'd probably note it on the holder.
No, they wouldn't note it because
it's on all of them.
Yeah, it's on all of them. It's part of the production. Okay, so I gave praise, but let's talk about a couple of
so
Doofus
let's
purchases.
take a swing at somebody. Okay, I got you.
And I hate to pick on Heritage, but I can't. It's the only place I can ever find really big doofuses. So the first one is lot 32057. This sold last week in the signature sale. These Kosan gold staters are very common, very, very common. These they're abundantly available everywhere. They're all mint state for the most part. You rarely find one that's not mint state. You might find one with rough surfaces. You might find a lot of times they're off center. But it's they typically come this way. And so
isn't that true of most treasury coins?
It is, but it's like this coin in particular back 10, not that long ago, maybe 15 years ago, 20 years ago. If I had one of these, it's an $800 coin. Over and over and over again. Like how you get Byzantine gold that's relatively cheaper. This Roman gold and Greek gold tends to go for a lot more money, but even though this is imperatorial period, which should bring big money, it's not, because it's just they're so common. They're so common. And so this was an $800 coin up until the slabbing services started to slab and put high designations on them. And like I said before, Heritage and telemarketers and people that deal just in slabbed ancients, they're painting themselves in a corner because the only coins that they can sell that get high designations on a regular basis is these types of coins. And so, yes, you can get an oddball here and there that's going to get a high designation. But if you want to regularly take somebody to the market and make big money, you're going to do it in coins that you can find regularly.
Well,
And this is one of them.
I also think that they're preying on the fact that, people are generally uneducated about things before they buy them. So what
Right.
they're going to do is they're looking at this and they're like, well, it's 5.5, right? And 5.5.
Right.
So I look at this and it's tied for the finest known. Well, it's not.
Right.
And that's kind of the thing. I think they look at that grade and they say, yeah, this is one of the top of the line, and it may not be because ancients are graded just so much differently than.
Well, and they even say at the peak of the grading scale, this bright sunny piece.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like they're trying to. It sounds like bright sunny day. Like,
well, they're definitely blowing sunshine someplace.
They definitely are. So, but I mean, I know this is Heritage adds on the commission, so this is their price realizes with the 20% added, but $6,250 for a coin that now the raw market's gone up on these because of the slabbing market. So that's where the slabbing market has helped out specific coins like this increase in price, because what's happening is there's a big demand for the raw versions of these, because look, if you can buy one raw for, now they're selling between $1,800 and $2,500. If you can buy a raw one for $1,500 to $1,800, throw it in a slab, put it in a heritage sale and get 5,000 or 6,000.
Yeah.
Not that it's going to happen all the time. A lot of times they may only bring 2,000 or 2,500. Remember,
but it's worth a shot, isn't it?
They started it out at $1.
Yeah.
And the whole point is that they know it's not going to sell for $1. And so they draw the whole world in at that point.
Yep.
And so,
this one had a very strong underbidder.
Several. So in any case, that does, so, again, people always think I'm against slabs. I'm not against slabs.
Mm-mm.
What I'm against is people overpaying for slabs. And so,
well, because they don't understand what the slab is telling them.
Right. All you're doing is you're just making these clients or dealers who own these coins a ton of money.
Yeah.
And go buy it raw and slab it yourself. There's no reason to pay an absorbent amount of money for something that's all over the place.
That's not as easy, though.
No, it's not. Well, then you're just being lazy.
Right.
So
no, it's instant gratification.
Right.
Now I really am sounding like the old man I am.
So if you go to the next lot, I have two doofuses for you. It's always easy to find.
Two doofuses
and
in one.
It is Julius Caesar Aureus, number 31037. They had it estimated at 20,000 as a starting price. It's a star, 5545. A lot of times, this is one of the more common Julius Caesar types, and I wouldn't consider, a lot of these do come EF to mint state typically. I don't know why they called this star. Maybe it's tremendous in hand, but I see a lot of little like marks in the die, little lines here and there, and for that reason I would not have given this a star. So I've seen better ones. I've seen better cut dies than this one. I think somebody, yeah, I'm not sure what the deal was.
They're tooling marks one way or the other. Either they're tooling marks from making the die or they're tooling marks from trying to clean the coin up.
It's just in the die when it got struck, it is what it is. But this coin is in raw, and even in some slab versions, this is a $15,000 to up to maybe $22,000 coin. And I'd say it's closer to like an $18,000 coin. And for it to go for 60,000 is just insane. I was talking to somebody who wants to build a 12 Caesar set, and they were thinking about bidding on this. They said, well, but it's a star. And I'm like, so what?
Yeah.
I'm like,
you're
why
like,
do you want to?
No, it's not.
Why do you want to pay for a star? It doesn't make sense.
Well, look, I think it's the terminology that gets in everybody's way. It's not that you don't want to pay for a star. That is, you're assuming that the star is a premium coin. And that's where the disconnect is, because
Correct.
you want to buy a nice coin, and you should
Correct.
pay strong money for a nice coin.
Correct.
But don't trust what the grading services are telling you.
Well, like, and I've said this time and time again, if they can't get it right in US coins, how are they going to get it right in ancient coins when there's so much more variety and artistic merit and all kinds of stuff going on with that? And I don't know how many times, like in our US department, we've either gone to look at coins in auction or coins have come over the counter, and they are grossly overgraded, and there's no way that you even want to even touch them. In fact, if we buy coins over the counter that happen to come in over designated high designated grades, we don't sell them to our clients. We dump them to dealers that are willing to screw over their clients. We have no interest
Move
in
them to
doing
the
that to our
wholesalers
clients.
and move them on to people that are willing to buy that stuff, because I would not in good conscience put a customer in a coin like that.
Correct. And I wasn't going to let my client bid on this coin. He would have never bid this high anyway. But there's, this is all somebody speculating that the stars are going to continue to go up. And I can tell you that in some cases that's been the case, and a lot of cases that it hasn't been the case. For instance, Chrysos heavy stators, Heritage was selling them for a while 5 years ago for 120,000 hammer, which was ridiculous. And now they're selling for 50 and 60, which is what they used to normally sell at. So Heritage is basically, they saturated their market with Chrysos, and now the price is starting to come down even for slabs, because people are way oversatisfied with them. Because once they realize that they could get, or not just Heritage, but the consigners to Heritage could realize, hey, I could put a heavy Chrysos or a light Chrysos into Heritage and get stupid money for it. Everybody was consigning Chrysos to it. If you go through any one of their major auctions, they have a ton of Chrysos in there, and it's because of that situation. Same with octadrams. Why does CNG or Heritage get so many octadrams of Egypt for sale? Same reason, because they were getting stupid money for the stuff, and now it's starting to come down. So, even Heritage, every auction house or dealer has its saturation point. Heritage has they're a huge sponge, so it takes them a lot longer than most. But
they'll still find it.
Everybody has their saturation point. And so, and then if you're the one who bought it at the height, you're SOL. If you go to try to sell that coin,
well, you'd better like
5 years later.
You'd better like it, because you're going to own it for a long time.
Well, you're going to take a loss on it is what you're going to do, most likely. So, anyway, that's my Heritage Doofus.
Soapbox.
And trust me, guys, I tried to find one in other auction spots. I couldn't. And I know there's ones out there. I when I'm really looking for a good Doofus, it's so much easier to find it there. So it just, I don't know.
We're not picking on them. We're
the other thing is too is
facts.
that the other thing is that the whole Doofus thing came up because I did see a lot of discrepancy in how people were buying slabs. And so I really, with the show especially, I really wanted to educate our slab buyers on what to do and what not to do, so they're not caught with their pants down, essentially. And so I'm really talking to them less than I'm talking to a lot of our listeners, because quite a few of our listeners, are raw buyers. They don't want coins and slabs. But as a dealer, and a lover of numismatics, I'm interested in all coins, holder or not holder.
Right.
But I also want to educate people what they should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing.
Well, we want people to buy the coin and not the holder.
Correct. And look, if the coin justifies a star, I'm all for it. But if it doesn't, then that's a problem, because then people,
that star may just not mean as much as you think it does. That's
It's true. It's true. Okay, so that's going to bring us to an auction coming up. CNG, not going to talk a ton, but it's a really nice sale. It's going to be May 28th and 29th. So it's coming up here in, just over a week or so from
12 days, 11 hours and 40 minutes.
Yep. And so really nice sale, a lot of great coins in it. I just picked out one that I thought was really cool to talk about since we spent some time on NAC and doofuses and stuff. And that is lot number 299, which is not very coin-like, Mike.
No, this actually looks very rock-like.
So before coinage, copper in the late Bronze Age was very, very, very valuable, more valuable than gold. And so it was actually traded, and they had these ingots, which are extremely rare. They hardly ever come up. In fact, I couldn't find a complete one in coin archives. There's fragmentary ones, and most of these there's a ton of these in museums, and it's named as an ox hide because people thought it looked like the hide of an ox.
It kind of does look like an animal skin.
It does, but it's now widely believed that maybe this was so that it was easier to carry, or that they were able to put it on the side of a horse, like in a mount or something like that while they're traveling.
All right, so this is 79 by 52 by 8 centimeters.
Yep.
So that is roughly, what, foot and a half by...
It's heavy.
Yeah, well, it's 27 kilos, so it weighs 60 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a solid piece. Most of these all come out of Cyprus. It's kind of how the name is derived in Greek as well. And they do a nice little write-up on here as well. But to my knowledge, supposedly CNG sold one of these 25 years ago, over 25 years ago. And then the only other ones are fragmentary ones that Gorney and Mosh sold in 2014 and another auction house in 2019. So this really is kind of probably a once-in-a-lifetime scenario to own something like this. It actually has a pedigree going back to 1986. So it's, been privately sold numerous times, but never came to auction, at least that anyone else had found. But an interesting thing.
The article says that that most of these are in museums. That's why they rarely come up for auction.
Correct. And coinage didn't start until 650 BC. So this is what they were hauling around before that.
Well, they had people hauling it around for them.
Hauling it around. So,
slaves.
But yeah, this stuff was more valuable than gold.
Well, sure, because gold was nice, but you couldn't make tools out of gold.
Correct. And in the Bronze Age, that's when technology of things took off, and they took off with copper. So anyway, very cool thing. If you get a chance, check out CNG's auction. A lot of cool things in here. It's 1,284 lots, not all ancient, but they also have the Beniac collection of Alexandrian coins, which is kind of interesting because I'm going to be launching our next buyer bid sale catalog with the Peter Lorick Alexandrian coinage collection. I have that on consignment from Peter. Was a dear friend, nice gentleman. I used to spend hours on the phone talking to Peter, and Peter's still alive, but he is in his 90s, and he unfortunately has Alzheimer's or dementia. And so he's pretty much gone as far as that goes. And his the last thing he has 3 daughters. The last thing he told his daughters is, if I lose it, call Aaron. And so I thought that was really sweet. And so I'm trying to do right by Peter. Peter Lorick lived in Canada. He has built numerous Roman Egyptian collections and sold them. And I would say he was beyond, Benny. I know Beniac as well. Is very, very nice guy, very good collector, incredible collection. I would say, in fact, I even mentioned to Tom when I saw him at the Central States show that I had Peter's collection. And he knew who Peter was. He had never met Peter, but it's in the Roman Egyptian community. These guys were competing against each other all the time. And so anyway, interesting. Yeah. But so that if you're a Roman Egyptian collector, we profiled Roman Egypt on this show 2 shows ago, I believe.
Yes. Yeah, and it's the colonial or the not colonial. What do you call it? Come on, help me out.
Well, it was episode 43.
Yes.
How's that?
Yeah, no, but I was talking about what they called it. It was the
Alexandrian coinage.
yeah.
Roman Egypt.
Yes, but what they called the settlements there is provincial. That was the word I was looking for.
It's provincial coinage, but
Yeah.
Egypt is its own little province in itself.
Right.
So that's going to bring us to our educational section, which really is not an educational section.
Not tonight.
This is more of a news-worthy scenario, and so I don't know, Mike, if you brought up the first slide or not.
I have now.
Okay, so this is not new news. It's come out. This is all over the place, so I don't think I'm doing anything that's controversial here by talking about this.
Right.
I'm just kind of piecing it all together for you all, for those who don't know about it.
Just connecting the dots.
Yeah. So Roma Numismatics, big player in the auction world out of London. And if you've been around ancient coins, you know the name Roma Numismatics. They came onto the market very, very quickly in the 2000s, late 2000s. And I would say around 2007 or 8, maybe 9, even 10. Maybe 7 or 8. But I remember when Richard Beale, who's the owner, first came to the first New York International, and he was buying like crazy, and everybody's like, who is this guy buying all these coins? He was overpaying for everything, and I think he just wanted to make a big splash with his company.
Sure.
So that's what he was doing, and he built a little empire for himself. But unfortunately, it has all come to an end. So Roma just put out an email that they will be ceasing their operations on May 24th. So of this month, and they will be no longer. And the reason that they have fallen is because of, the main reason is because of the gold Idmar. And we've talked about it on the show before, but for those of you who had not heard it, there's only 3 gold Idmars in existence, and one is in a museum in Germany. There's one with a hole, which now my client owns, and which was on display at the British Museum. It has a pedigree back to the 1920s or 30s. And then there was this one, which supposedly had a pedigree. If you read at the top right, it says from the collection of this baron, going all the way back to the 1800s, and sounded, he was in the Chamberlain of Ferdinand the First, Emperor of Austria. Sounds very prestigious.
All official, yes.
But it was all fake. And one thing I've learned in this business is you don't fake pedigrees. That's get you in trouble and arrested and put in jail every time.
That's the kiss of death.
I've seen it happen numerous times to dealers throughout my 30 years of doing this.
Wow.
You don't fake pedigrees. It's one thing, like if it's hearsay, but you believe it, it's another thing to purposely deceive. And we know that he deceived because their court records are indicating that him and Italo Vecchi, who was working for him as an agent, went to Munich in 2015 and bought this gold Idmar for 450,000 euros cash. And so if you're paying somebody in cash, you're probably working with a smuggler.
That might tip you off.
Correct. And so this coin was offered after they got it in 2015 to several of the largest buyers in the world at the time. None of them were offered a pedigree. And then lo and behold, Richard sends it to NGC. They gave it a mint state star, 5535, which this one I think deserved the star. And and then he came up with this pedigree, which most people at the time didn't believe, especially since the thing had been shopped around without a pedigree before. And so why he did that, I have no idea. It was not necessary to fake a pedigree. You can say it was not right to buy a looted coin either, but it made it even worse to make up a pedigree. And well,
you've had an insult to injury, that's for sure.
Right. And supposedly I've been told that the descendant of this person that they quoted from the 1800s lived in New York City. And so they literally, all they had to do is go to the, the prosecutors just needed to go to this descendant and say, did this come from your family? And he just said no. And was
Whoops.
surprised that his name was even used. And so then when Richard Beale came to New York, he was detained. They had all this evidence, and he had to basically come clean and say, yes, it was a fake pedigree. And now the coin has been confiscated. It went back to Greece, I'm told. And this opened up a huge Pandora's box for Roma, because there was something else that was mentioned in the indictment that a lot of people knew about, but nothing had been done until this gold Idmar came up. And so as they say, when the shit hits the fan, it really hits the fan.
Yeah.
So if you go to the next slide, Mike, you'll see there was go up one.
Okay. Now we're having problems this time, of course.
All right, there we go. Yeah. So there's a hoard of Alexander the Great decadrams that came on the market in 2017. These are really, really rare coins. There was hardly ever any in the market. Extremely rare. There's only one in the price catalog on Alexander the Great. And there was an actual BBC documentary. It doesn't say that they have it up right now, but I found some clips here and there. But if you go to the next slide, Mike, you'll see that there was this fisherman. Go up one. Yep. He literally, the way the documentary was sold, because they actually questioned the. Go down one.
No, I'm there. Trust me. Okay.
Oh, okay. Because it says you're.
Yeah.
Not, but okay. Anyway, so they actually questioned the fisherman in the documentary, and I think it went down one again. There you go. And so they actually the way it went was in the documentary, the way they explained it is that the Palestinian fishermen were being limited to how much waters they could fish by Israel. And so they weren't getting enough fish to feed their families or make enough money. And so they started treasure hunting. And this was on an ancient port where they were fishing, was where one of Alexander's port was. And so they found a hoard of Alexander the Great decadrams and other coins. Go to the next slide. You'll see
they made lemonade.
Yeah, so you'll see they found 19 Alexander the Great decadrams, and then these were bought by a Canadian dealer who worked very closely with Roma named Salam. And Salam literally is named in this documentary. He went down to the beach and bought them from this Palestinian farmer or fisherman for nothing, and then obviously started giving them all to Richard at Roma to sell. And so a lot of times, if you go to the next slide, you'll see I think this is the first time they offered one. It actually says that it was an ex-Canadian collection. Well, the Canadian collection was Salam, who bought it and looted it. So you can see it brought 100,000 pounds. And these started showing up all over. I saw them in many different auction houses. I don't know why people were selling them, especially people knew about the documentary, and there was knowledge that these were looted. And so, you never want to deal in known looted objects ever, and you don't want to have fake pedigrees either. So this was,
how not to deal ancient coins 101.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Pretty much. And so if you go to the next slide, Mike, you can see they all have rough surfaces because they were all found in the sea.
Yeah, they all have saltwater damage.
Correct. And so I don't know if the prosecutors would have gone after these decadrams if they didn't have the gold Idmar as well. So when they went after the gold Idmar and the Naxos that was under the same pedigree, they also tied in this this decadram hoard as well into the indictment. So I don't know. I know some people own these in different countries that maybe don't want to give them back. I don't know if they fought to try to go after all of these or not, but I wouldn't want to be handling one. And I could have bought one at an A&A in Chicago around 2017 or 18, and I didn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, these, it seems to me that if you have one of these decadrams and it has saltwater damage, you don't want it.
Well, unless it has a pedigree. If it has a pedigree, it's fine. There was one that sold at Nomos a couple years ago that did have a pedigree that was, old. So there are a couple out there, but in general, if it says European or Canadian collection, stay away.
Yeah.
Or if it has no pedigree, stay away. I think that if you're going to buy coins in the hundreds, if you're going to buy coins over $20,000, it's nice to have a pedigree if possible. If it's $100,000, now most of us can't afford those things, but that's why these pedigreed coins that are pre-1970 are going for so much money, because nobody wants to touch the coins that they are pretty sure might be looted, even though they might be great coins. They don't want to have a problem down the road. And so it's just easier to have coins without problems. And not to say that every coin that comes up without a pedigree is going to have a problem, but when you're dealing with coins that are at that level, it draws a lot more attention.
Well,
and so
I would also think that the other problem with that is that once they find a coin in your collection or in your, in your inventory that is either fake pedigreed or, has a problem, now they're going to start to suspect every single coin that you have, and that's going to lower the value of your collection.
Yeah. Yeah. It just, people want to know why pedigree. Look, I think that some would say that people are way overpaying for pedigree coins, but you have a limited amount of coins that have great pedigrees, and you have a massive amount of high-end buyers that are looking for them. And so that's a supply and demand issue that's going to always, bring strong money. And so there's a lot more coins without pedigrees than there are with pedigrees. And so it's just the way it is.
Right.
So, but once, and not to say that if you have a coin that's $100,000 without a pedigree, that's a problem, because sometimes people just lost the pedigree. I mean, that happens all the time. We buy coins and we say, well, it doesn't have a pedigree, but look at the old toning on it. We know it's got a pedigree somewhere.
Right.
I mean, I just found I had an Agricus tetradram that I bought from somebody over the counter, and it ended up it had no pedigree. They didn't have any information, and then I ended up doing some research and I got a hit, and it was from 1906.
Wow.
Had a pedigree back to 1906, and it was part of the Athens duplicate collection that they sold off in 1906. So, now I added a lot of value to the coin because of the pedigree.
Yeah.
But, just because a coin, and the coin was like $10,000-$15,000, it wasn't 50,000, but at the same time, like, it didn't have a pedigree when I bought it.
Right.
Doesn't mean that every coin is looted newly. Because every coin is looted at one point. It could have been 50 years ago when nobody cared, and all these stuff people were just walking out with the stuff. There was no laws governing any of this stuff that 50 years ago.
Right.
So, a lot of this is more new phenomenon for the most part. So, it's, I mean, think about it, like even people flying on planes, and, there was no security. There was no there was very light security going through, and people were smoking on planes, and there was, it wasn't a big deal,
It wasn't that hard, right?
No, no, not hard at all. So, and coins are small and were easily transportable. So a lot of people, even today, like I just talked to somebody who went to Italy and brought a coin out of Italy. They bought from some dealer, claimed that, oh, you could take it out. And I said, well, if you would have gotten stopped, they may have confiscated it from you. And because you're not supposed to, they're not supposed to export coins out of Italy.
Right.
But he just walked out. It was in his pocket. He just walked out with it.
Yeah.
He had no idea, but that's my point, is like coins are easy to take out. It's not, whether you're trying to smuggle or you are smuggling, it's like,
Yeah, it's like, but you
know,
don't want to F around and find out. I mean, that's
no, of course not. Of course not. And
yeah.
I'm not saying that anybody should try to loot. When people ask me, oh, people say, I'm going to Italy. Well, who should I go see? And I'm like, nobody.
Yeah.
You can't buy anything. So, but my point is that don't be so concerned that every coin that doesn't have a pedigree is going to be a problem. For most of the time, you have to have evidence like a BBC report of the guy who found it, or somebody faking a pedigree and they find out that it was faked and why they faked it because it was looted. There's got to be physical evidence of why that it was taken out of the source country recently, for them to be able to say that that country owns it again. So it's don't be afraid yet, guys.
Not yet.
My point. And so I bring up, I think we talk about triumphs and the beauty of collecting ancient coins in the market, but there is a bad side. And so I think that as a community, we need to talk about it and bring it to, we can't just sweep it under the rug and not talk about it. I think it's important to talk about so that we can educate people so they do the right thing, they follow the rules, and they are responsible.
There is an ugly underbelly to almost every business. And so, coin collecting is no different. Ancient coins are no different. And, your integrity and your name are really the only thing you have, and you get one shot at it. So value that.
So anyway, enough of that.
Let's get on to some happy news.
So we're going to go to the contest.
Well, before we do that, we're going to go to what?
To our contest.
Yeah. Well, before we do that, we're going to announce the winners from last episode's contest. So last episode, we gave away a copy of David Hendon's book, 5th edition.
3 times.
Yes. And we gave 3 winners away, and our winners were Jason Forsyth of Rockingham, Virginia, Chris McCabe of, Peabody, Mass, and we had an international winner, Gemmo Bayer from Germany. And so congratulations to our winners. It's like we will send it anywhere in the world. It doesn't really matter. And we want to give you guys some really good material. So speaking of really good material, we have another contest this week. And this week's prize will be...
Well, let's go to the slideshow.
Let's go to the slideshow. Give me a second. Let me get us there.
Put it up on screen.
This one and this one. Well, no, I can't do it that way. I gotta go.
You gotta hit play.
Yep, I gotta get it on screen first. Okay.
Right.
All right. Nice graphic.
Thank you.
Boy,
So if you want to go to the next slide, we are going to be giving away a 3rd edition of the 100 Greatest Ancient Coins, and it will be signed by my father, Harlan Berk, and we will even have him sign it to you personally. We will give away 2 copies this week.
Okay.
And we will go anywhere in the world as well, which in this case will probably be twice what the book is worth if it goes to the guy in Germany or somewhere else. So, Mike, if we go to the next slide, it's going to be let us do identification. So, Mike, hit the space bar.
It already came across. Contact Mike at
there we go.
Mike at hjbltd.com.
So
that is my email address.
So you have to identify this coin and email Mike, and we will then randomly pick 2 winners and send them autographed, personalized 100 Greatest 3rd
edition. Now, I will say for the answers last week, I was pretty lenient. I pretty much accepted anybody who had even half the answer right. That will not be the case this week. Okay. So do your homework, send me the correct answer, and from those correct answers, we will draw 2 winners, and they will get a copy of the 100 Greatest Ancient Coins 3rd edition, courtesy of Harlan J. Berk Limited.
And I would say, give us the name of the city or emperor. Who knows? And I'm not giving anything away.
Nope.
And you can take a stab at the denomination as well, if you like. It's a little hard without knowing the weight, but generally speaking, based on the style of this coin, you should be able to figure it out.
There you go. There's our challenge. So, look, I'm learning every episode, and I think we're tweaking it a little bit. We're pumping it up a notch. So
We are.
thank you for that.
We are. So thanks everybody for the support. Number 45 in the book.
Yeah.
And,
thanks to everybody who entered our last contest, who absolutely flooded my inbox, because there were a lot of people entered. And hopefully we'll get more of the same with this. We welcome your feedback and your comments. If you have something that you'd like to hear us talk about, or something that you want to just, send us a comment. Hey, you guys really stink, or I really like your show. We're always cool with that. You can see our email addresses below our name. And I guess that puts number 45 on the chart. We are done. All done and dusted.
Bam.
Anything else for him, Aaron?
Nope. Thanks, guys, for all your support, all your
Really?
kind words with emails, phone calls. Really appreciate it. Any of you guys who come up to the show said nice things.
We've got
really
a ton of positive feedback. It has been so overwhelmingly positive.
It keeps me and Mike revved up to continue to do this show.
Yes.
So thank you for that.
Thank you. All right. And we'll talk to you next time on the episode 46 of the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk.
Thanks for listening to the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk. We'll return with another episode soon. Meantime, you can join our private group on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com and search the Groups tab for Ancient Coin Podcast Discussion Group and ask to join. There you can become part of our community, where we share and discuss ancient coins, as well as the show, the ancient coin market, auctions, or just to give our own opinions on things in order to learn together. Join Aaron and Mike again soon for the next episode of the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk.